A woman stood by the window, gazing at the scenery outside. She held onto the necklace around her neck and then smiled. A man was walking with a female assistant. They were discussing the Queen's intention to visit the Alzino Imperial Magic Academy amidst some unfortunate events. The man's name was Zelos. The woman beside Zelos mentioned that at the academy, there was Princess Ermiana, who had caused the said unfortunate events. The name of the queen was Alicia. The female assistant introduced Zelos, who was the imperial guardian, to Queen Alicia. Zelos bowed his head and greeted Queen Alicia. He agreed to accompany and protect the queen during the journey and the upcoming event at the Alzino Imperial Magic Academy. Zelos worried that if the queen came to the academy to expose Princess Ermiana, who was rumored to be deceased, the queen heard Zelos' advice, and she would also keep it in mind. Zelos left, leaving only the queen and the female assistant in the room. The queen felt that her daughter would hate her, but she was happy if her daughter could be happy with her friends. Sistine and Rumia led a discussion about the upcoming competition. They urged the students to do their best in the competition. Some students refused because they were already sure they would lose. Rumia tried to encourage them, but the bespectacled boy denied Rumia's words. Sistine was annoyed with the bespectacled boy. Suddenly, Glenn arrived and boasted to the students. Glenn approached Sistine and asked for the list of competitions. He looked at the list and decided to choose students for each competition. He also intended to make the students win the competitions. He read out the names of the students who would participate in each competition. All the students in the class participated in different branches of the competition. Rumia was happy to see Glenn helping the students. Suddenly, Wendy became angry because she wasn't included in the duel competition. Glenn explained why Wendy couldn't participate in the duel competition. He chose Cash to participate in the duel competition because Cash had fast reflexes and was not hesitant. He chose Wendy to participate in the quick deciphering competition because Wendy excelled in language reading. Glenn chose Rod and Kai to participate in the magic race because both of them use black magic to control gravity. Glenn chose Teresa to participate in the long-distance weightlifting competition because she had talent in long-distance manipulation spells. Alf, Bix, and Seixer were chosen to participate in the Granzia competition because the three of them were always united. Rumia and Sistine were impressed with Glenn paying attention to their students. Since there were no objections from the students, Glenn finalized the list of students who would participate in the competitions. Glenn thought his plan would succeed. Earlier, Glenn met with the head of the academy and Celica. He asked for upfront payment, but the head of the academy refused. Glenn tried to blame Celica. Celica got upset and squeezed Glenn's head. The head of the academy mentioned that Glenn could receive a special reward. Glenn could get a special reward if his students could win the upcoming magic competition. Suddenly, Gibble opposed Glenn's plan. According to Gibble, the student who would win the competition would be the one with the highest grades. Glenn was surprised because the same student could participate in every competition. Sistine refuted Gibble's statement. She felt that Glenn had prepared a plan that would make every student in his class win. Glenn felt desperate and then acknowledged Sistine's words. Glenn saw superior students from other classes practicing for the competition. He regretted not knowing the rules. He observed a boy chanting a spell and successfully conjuring fire with his magic. Suddenly, Cash fought with a student from another class. Glenn approached and stopped both of them. Suddenly, Hallie arrived and scolded the student fighting with Cash. Glenn greeted Hallie, but Hallie got annoyed. Glenn realized that Hallie was training his students for the competition. He encouraged Hallie. Then Hallie asked Glenn to leave. Glenn intended to take his students to the tree behind, but Hallie refused. Hallie told Glenn's students to leave the place. He felt disturbed when all of Glenn's students practiced there. Glenn apologized and then denied Hallie's words. Then Glenn offered a bet to Hallie. Glenn would wager 3 months' salary if his class won. Glenn, who was actually arrogant, was worried about challenging Hallie suddenly. Hallie thought about Glenn's offer and then looked at his students. He agreed with Glenn and also wagered 3 months' salary for his class's victory. Glenn acted bravely, but he actually regretted it. He intended to kneel and somersault to demonstrate his unique magic. Suddenly, Sistine came and opposed Hallie, who wanted to dominate the training ground. She intended to report it to the head of the academy. Then Sistine asked Glenn to train the students. She believed that Glenn could train the students and bring victory to his class. Holly accepted the challenge. Then he and his students left the place. Sistine encouraged her friends. Glenn felt desperate with Sistine's words. Meanwhile, Rumia realized that Glenn's and Sistine's opinions were different. Glenn strengthened his determination. Then he trained his students. He endured hunger while teaching the students, but he looked very happy. Rumia was standing on the balcony, holding the pendant around her neck. Rumia remembered when she got trapped in a fire. She cried out for help from her mother. She opened her eyes and was shocked to see bodies piled around her. A man came and told Rumia to stop crying. Rumia thought the man was evil. The man told Rumia to stop crying and to trust him. Rumia opened the pendant, but the picture inside was already burnt. Suddenly, Sistine came and invited Rumia to dinner. Sistine was curious about the object Rumia was hiding. Rumia tried to change the subject. She urged Sistine to be excited about the competition tomorrow. Sistine was worried because the queen, who was Rumia's biological mother, was coming. Rumia reassured Sistine, saying she already considered Sistine's parents as her own. Sistine and Rumia went to the table for dinner with their parents. They discussed the competition that would be held the next day. Sistine's parents couldn't come because they had work. Rumia and Sistine didn't mind. Sistine's father exaggerated Rumia and Sistine's words. Suddenly, Sistine's mother choked her father with her elbow. Sistine's mother planned to ask for time off work by threatening. Sistine and Rumia resigned themselves to their parents' behavior. The queen departed for the academy by carriage. She held the same pendant as Rumia's. Then the female attendant suggested that the queen replace the pendant with a blue gem necklace. The queen greeted all the academy residents and started the competition. All the residents, including Hallie and Glenn, applauded at the queen's words. Rumia felt sad when she saw the blue gem necklace around the queen's neck. The student hosting the event announced the names Rod and Kai. He announced Rod and Kai's names who would become third-place winners. Glenn was surprised to see Rod and Kai become third-place winners. Sistine was impressed with Glenn. Then Glenn boasted. He explained the strategy that had made Rod and Kai win the competition. Cash and other students became excited, but suddenly Christ from the first-year class came and taunted Cash. Holly also came and tried to provoke Glenn. Cash refuted Christ's words and urged his friends to be excited. Glenn felt desperate because his students were responding to the provocation. Celica, sitting next to the queen, burst into laughter when she saw Glenn. Celica told the queen about Glenn. She explained the qualities that made Glenn look great. Zelos, who was watching the queen, received a report from his soldiers. He was shocked after hearing the soldiers' words. Cecil aimed his hand at a moving target in the air. He used shock bolt and successfully destroyed the target. The host announced Cecil as the fourth-place winner in the magic sharpshooting competition. Wendy raised her hand and answered the given question. Wendy's answer was correct and made her the winner of the fast deciphering competition. Glenn, who was hungry, didn't expect his students to win some of the competitions. Now, the second-year class was in third place. Glenn looked at his joyful students. He was happy because his students had tried hard. Ars announced the mental defense competition and rushed to the field. A muscular boy told Rumia to back off from the competition. The boy's name was Jail. Rumia thanked Jail, but she wanted to try for the sake of her friends. Rumia also wanted to defeat Jail's class, which was in second place, so their class rankings could switch. Dibble thought Glenn had made Rumia a sacrificial lamb in the mental defense competition. Gibble knew that Rumia was only talented in healing white magic, but it turned out Glenn chose Rumia because Rumia had a strong mentality. Ars started the mental defense competition and introduced the person who would be the examiner for the participants. That person was Prince Zest, who was the ruler of mental magic manipulation and a professor at the academy. Prince Zest stepped forward and used sleep sound for the first test. He chanted a spell towards the participants. The participants also used spells to defend against the magic. The first participant to lose was from the first-year class. Ars narrated the fierceness of the competition to the audience. Then she asked Prince Zest's opinion about Rumia, the only female participant. He looked at Rumia with a lecherous gaze. This surprised the students and the head of the academy. The 8th class lost after Prince Zest used Confusion Mind. Prince Zest manipulated the participants again with Charm Mind. Prince Zest used rapid chanting and successfully made the participants fall. Rumia and Jael managed to withstand the attack. Glenn explained to the surprised Gibble why Rumia could hold out until the end. According to Glenn, Rumia had a fearless mindset. Rumia should have won the competition, but unfortunately, Rumia had to fight against Jael, who also had great abilities. Prince Zest used Mind Break, which was the most dangerous spell. He chanted the spell towards Rumia and Jael. Rumia and Jael managed to withstand the magic again. Jael was impressed and told Rumia to retreat. Rumia refused to retreat because she wanted to win the match like her other friends. She was determined to win the competition. Prince Zest gathered more energy for this attack. He used magic again and made Rumia kneel. Rumia tried to resist, but Glenn decided that Rumia should withdraw from the competition. Rumia didn't want to give up, but Glenn insisted. Glenn encouraged Rumia, who had been enduring against Jael. Rumia was also happy to be able to participate in the competition. Ars was about to announce Jael as the winner, but Jael suddenly fainted while standing. Then Prince Zest decided that Rumia was the winner of the competition. Sistine was delighted and hugged Rumia. The queen was grateful that Rumia had good teachers and friends. She felt guilty for neglecting Rumia, but she was also happy to see Rumia laughing with her friends. Then Celica and the maid urged the queen to talk to Rumia. The second-year students and Glenn were happy after Rumia won the competition. But there was a man and a girl who looked at them. Both of them observed and watched Glenn.